we can all take a much-needed break for 20 minutes for this plenary from our laptops, iPads, et cetera, because we're going to have opportunity to connect with each other with a little pair share. Yeah, I'm still getting used to this thing. I want to start with an example of how the work we do at community colleges causes a ripple effect outward into the larger community. The example is the equity director at a community college worked really hard to make sure that students can sleep in their cars in the parking lot. They have access to the showers during the day, and they have access to a food pantry. That enabled Maya, who was homeless, a homeless student, to finish her firefighting certificate. And as a result, she went on to fight the Northern California fires, where I'm from, and she was a big hero in her community. There we go. I'm still getting used to this. So today I want to give you the gift of time. Gift of time to hear from each other about the work we all do at community colleges in terms of our equity work. The time to reconnect with our core values that inspire us to support underrepresented students in achieving their dreams. I probably don't have to do that, but anyway, you'll get used to it. And the time to think about the impact we have in a greater way in the larger world as a result of the work we do in community colleges. There's a lot of injustice in the world today, I'm sure you guys noticed. But we're all part of the solution with the work that we do at the community colleges. What, am I crazy? I'm gonna do that in 20 minutes? Yes, because of the amazing people that are here today in this room, we're gonna do all that in 20 minutes. Let me just fix this. Wait, I still have to do this, okay. I'm gonna try to move away from here a little bit. Okay, I don't know about you, but I wake up like this in the morning. I'm like, oh, I don't want to look what happened, what injustice, what hate, what violence, what's going on with poverty, divisiveness, oppression. It's hard to get out of the bed some days if you're a person who cares about making a difference. And that's why I wrote Teaching It, Breakout Moves that Break Down Barriers for Community College Students. It has practical strategies for disrupting these larger inequities and injustices, but at the classroom level. The research-based strategies in Teaching It are framed with an equity lens, so they are more relevant, but they're relevant to all students, but relevant in particularly to underrepresented students, students underrepresented among those with four-year degrees. That includes students from the LGBTQ+ community, African-American students, Latinx students, other students of color, students with disability, formerly incarcerated students, and students like me who are first-generation college students who lived in poverty. I want to give one example of a research-based strategy framed with an equity lens. I think I can here we go. I want to move away from that, I don't like that. I want to talk about growth mindset. Still getting used to, my monitor's there, so I'm still getting used to that. So a person with a fixed mindset thinks that I'm not a math person, right? You're born with math ability, right? Person with a growth mindset thinks I can get better at anything, right? I'm not born as a writer, I can just get better at writing. Another way that people with a fixed mindset and growth mindset are different is in terms of effort. People with a fixed mindset think, oh, when I work hard, if I have to work hard on math, I'm not good at math because I'm not a math person. People who are good at math, it's easy for them. When a person has a growth mindset, they think, oh, I have to work hard to learn. That's just a natural part of learning. In fact, when I'm working the hardest, I'm building these neural connections. That's a good thing. Another way that fixed mindset and growth mindset people are different is in terms of mistakes. A person with a fixed mindset thinks, oh, I make a lot of mistakes. I have to revise my writing all the time. I have to do all these drafts. I make mistakes in math. I'm not good at math. I'm not good at writing. A person with a growth mindset understands that mistakes are part of learning, right? If I make mistakes, that just means that that's where the learning happens. That's where the aha moments happen. Oh, I made this mistake. Oh, I get it. So growth mindset came out of Stanford, Carol Dweck. Many of you probably, how many people have heard of growth mindset? Probably a lot, right? And so it's shown again and again. It was involved in my own research and research projects I was involved at Stanford. Shown again and again, people with a growth mindset do better in math, writing, science. When you do these little interventions for 20 minutes, people shift their growth mindset, they do better in math, it redresses the achievement gap. I want to talk a little bit about what growth mindset looks like not framed with an equity lens, and then framed with an equity lens. So this is what it looks like without an equity lens. Just not sure where to read from here. If you're wondering why I'm doing this, I'm not dancing. I'm actually trying to figure out how to read from here, I guess. I'll read that. So without an equity lens, teacher says, or instructor says, I will teach students to internalize that working hard, making mistakes, and taking risks are essential parts of the learning process. Students, something wrong with the student, they have a fixed mindset, the instructor's gonna fix the fixed mindset, right? So with an equity lens, though, it looks more like this. Teacher says, the instructor says, I will foster a growth mindset classroom where students from all backgrounds feel. Already you see the shift to disrupting the larger systemic inequities at the classroom level. So the instructor's saying, I will foster a growth mindset classroom where students from all backgrounds feel safe to experiment, take risks, and make mistakes, feel invited to communicate their unique approaches and perspectives, and feel free to develop their own identities as powerful lifelong learners. You'll notice when we frame research-based strategies with an equity lens, it sounds more like this. Students feel safe. Students from all backgrounds feel safe, invited, free, and powerful. So that's one example of a strategy in the book framed with an equity mindset or equity lens. Here's another strategy mentioned in the book. That's a very complex strategy, right? Building a community of powerful learners. I just want to share one strategy that I do on the first day to build a foundation for developing a community of powerful learners. And that is to memorize and pronounce students' names correctly. Yeah, I like that one. Yeah, I'm glad you like that one. I didn't think I could do it at first, right? I interviewed a bunch of people for the book, faculty, they said, this is really important. I'm like, but I can't do it. And they're like, well, this is how you do it. And they shared with me all their strategies. So I did it, and on the first day, no, everybody wasn't group hugging like this iStock photo, right? But I'll have to say, at the end of the first day, things were radically different. Students knew my first name, they knew each other's first name, and they were helping each other out and exchanging numbers. It was radically different. And at the end of the semester, there were these high fives, teary-eyed goodbyes, hugs, and thank yous. I'm like, wow, what happened, right? I'm the same instructor. So memorizing students' names really created a solid early foundation for building a community of powerful learners. And for students who are first-generation college students who are doubting whether or not they belong in college anyway, a mispronounced name could really signal that they don't belong and they're not welcome in that environment. And for students who on a daily basis experience racial, cultural, or gender identity discrimination, a mispronounced name or forgotten preferred pronoun can erase their identity or culture. In a moment, we're going to do a share pair activity where you're going to answer the question or have time to talk about the question, how do you make a difference for underrepresented students, and why is making this difference important to you? Before we do that, I'm going to share a little bit about why my work is important to me, why equity work is important to me. Why we care is obviously personal, right? I'm a first-generation college student who lived in poverty. I made the journey from community college to graduating from Stanford when I was 55. Yeah, that was a bumpy journey, for sure. I survived 2 sexual assaults, armed sexual assaults. I was homeless a lot. In fact, this is the first decade of my life where I haven't been homeless, or faced homelessness and been homeless. But I thought to myself, that's great, I'm a blazer-wearing white woman, right? What about people, and I'm heterosexual, right? So I thought to myself, what about people who have to face systemic discrimination on a daily basis? What if I had been black or gay or I'd had a disability? And I thought to myself, I want to make sure that my classroom does not replicate those systems of discrimination that people have to face every day. And so I want to make sure that my classroom instruction is safe and inclusive, everybody's voices are heard in the classroom, and everyone's needs are met. So that's why I do this work. All right, we're going to have a chance to do a pair share, where you're going to, I guess people we'll form pairs, and people on this side could start speaking, and then people on this side could active listen without interrupting. You'll have 2 minutes to do that. And the questions are, in your current role, how do you make a difference for underrepresented students, and why is making a difference important to you? I wanted to give everyone a chance to reconnect with their own core values that inspire them, and to hear from people in really different roles: presidents, vice presidents, advisors, faculty, student leaders. Before we do that, I think 30 seconds is probably enough. I'm going to ask that you find the person nearest to you who you know the least and pair up with them and raise your hand when you're done. I'm going to put 30 seconds on the clock. There you go. All right. Those guys, great. Okay, everybody got paired up? All right, everyone paired up? All right, we are going to start the pair share. This is my first time doing a pair share with 2,500 people, so it's a learning curve, right? Okay. So we'll start with, you can start with anyone you want, but I imagine that the people on this side would start being the speaker, and the people on this side would be the active learner without interrupting. And the question is, and you see 2 little clocks there, they cost me $60 a piece, so enjoy them. And in your current role, how do you make a difference for underrepresented students, and why is making a difference important to you? So the first person you have 2 minutes, and then we'll switch. I'll start the clocks now. There you go. My water. Oh. There you go. Okay, we need to switch roles now. Switch roles. Is everybody switching roles? And we'll start the clock. The clocks. There we go. Okay, we have 5 seconds left. And we're going to move on. Okay, I need to have your attention if you could wrap up your conversation. I'm going to keep talking because, hello. Thank you. I haven't worked out how to do the pair share yet with 2,500 people, but I am learning. All right. So thanks so much. I mean, obviously equity work, I hope you're seeing, looks really different depending on your role at a community college. I want to share with you a few stories about how the work we do causes a greater impact in the greater world, causes a ripple effect outward. We never really fully know, except for the Dream Scholars, that was really helpful, to see how some of our work causes a ripple effect outward. Here's a few stories I'd like to share. So a student body president notices that parent students aren't able to participate in the student government meetings. So he switches the times of the student meetings and also arranges childcare. This enables Parnell, who was a single parent, to eventually go out to run for student government, and eventually he became a community leader. He really embodied that and went out and fought for rent control in his community. That's one way it caused a ripple effect. Another example, in Mr. Rico's class, Ashley, who is white from a small town in Maine, engaged in inquiry-based group learning with people who were from cultural and ethnic groups different than her own. As a result, she was motivated to examine her own implicit biases. And then when she returned to her hometown, she was able to challenge some of the biases of the people in her community. Another example, Senior Dean of Student Affairs institutionalizes services for formerly incarcerated students. Instead of having a volunteer advisor, right, he made it a real position with pay and money and resources. As a result, Anthony, who was formerly incarcerated, felt like he belonged on campuses and had the resources he needed to be successful. As a result, he went on to get an MSW, and now he works in his own community with students, with people, youth, who might be at risk for going to prison. Another example, do you have 1 minute left? Okay, cool. All right, well then I'm just gonna move by some other stories here, because, all right, you may wake up like this. You're like, oh no, what did the leaders do last night? Just know that you are more powerful than you realize. You are making a ripple effect outward in the world that is changing the world. If you want to connect with me, here's some ways you can connect with me. I'm also here book signing, selling books, and I'll be here till Friday. And finally, I'd like to say thank you to everyone here who came to Dream 2020, for sharing your expertise with each other in our mini groups, and for doing your work at community and two-year colleges, and for making the world a better place. I feel better knowing that you all are here doing your work. Thanks.